My name is Kyle, and welcome back to another video. Today, in this one, it's going to be another deck profile video, and in this one, we're going to be doing a deck profile on the top 8 deck I got at the Lubbock Regional, and that deck is Labrynth. Now, the deck profile is already up on YouTube. It's on Team Bortles' channel if you want to check that out. But the reason why I'm making another deck profile on it is because I kind of want to go more in depth with this deck. Because again, as you're kind of looking at it right now, there's a lot of weird stuff in here that maybe you won't see in other lists. So in this one, I'm going to kind of go over the theories of why we're playing the weird ratios, why we're only playing the 2 Shandies, why we're playing the main deck evenly matched, why we're going with, you know, something like not playing the field spell or not playing like a Labrynth setup or something like that. Why we're playing Dogmatic Punishment, but also playing the Unchained package in the extra deck as well, even though those two seem to conflict with each other a lot. So there's a lot of weird stuff I kind of want to explain. So this is going to be more in-depth, so it's going to be a longer video. But if you wanted to see the deck itself, there it is. But I'm assuming you wanted some explanations on why some of these weird ratios are in the deck. So that's what we're going to do in this video. Now, 2 shoutouts before we actually get into the deck itself. Number 1 goes to Mr. Jefferson, because he helped me theory the deck itself, help, you know, explain the theory of why some of these weird ratios should be like this. So big shout out to him. And another shout out goes to Chris, because we did a lot of testing against the Snake Eyes deck, me and him, you know, him on Snake Eyes, me on Labrynth, and a lot of stuff that came up in our practice actually ended up coming up in the regional itself as well. So huge shout out to him as well. So without further ado, let's get into the deck itself. So first things first, obviously we're playing the 3 Blackjack. It's one of the best cards in the deck here. Now, it might be a little weird because, again, we're only playing the 2 Chandelier, which, again, we'll explain once we get to that. So it's going to be a little weird playing Blackjack while you're not maxing out on the furniture pieces, right? It's still not that bad. It's still not bad just to, you know, normal summon, go into a Relinquish, especially even going second. It doesn't even seem that bad because you can always normal summon the Blackjack, go into a Relinquish, you know, Blackjack affecting Graveyard. Obviously, if they have the Apo, they maybe negate there. You always have the Relinquish that attempted to take the Apo, so you can force one of the negations out, and then you can make like a Sky Crisis on top of the Relinquish. So Blackjack by itself does force out a lot as well. Obviously, it's not the best normal summon, but it's still a pretty decent normal summon in this deck. So even though we're not maxing out on the furniture pieces, I would not cut Blackjack down to 2 or something like that, because this was an insane card all day. Loved it so much. Obviously, we're playing the 3 Butler. Again, we're on a very heavy trap version of the deck, so obviously you want to play the Butler at 3. I think this card is fucking insane. I don't think you can really play this at less than 3, because it is just a really dumb card that exists for Labrynth, and I think you should play it just because, especially with hand traps in format, being able to special itself from Graveyard is also very insane as well. Obviously, we're playing the 3 Ariana because it's Ariana. It's one of the best starters for the deck. Of course, you want to play this card in the deck. It helps you search anything that you need to. So, again, don't know why. This is a pretty standard ratio there. Now, on to the actual furniture pieces. Obviously, we're playing 3 Stovey. The reason why we're decided to play 3 Stovey instead of the 2 Chandeliers is because Stovey is actually a better Chandelier piece, in my opinion, because 1, it does the same thing as Chandelier. It sets your bigs and welcomes and stuff like that. But in the graveyard, it specials itself to the field instead, which is very important. I'd rather it special to the field than it adding back to hand, like in the Chandelier's case. It's also a level 2, so something with like the ladies and stuff like that can get you into a Chaos Angel, which is really cool as well. So I decided to keep this. We decided to keep this at 3, and then obviously the 2 Chandeliers. This is the really weird one. Why would we only play 2 of this? Well, 1, we're not playing the field spell, and we're not playing setup either. So, you know, there's not that many targets. You only really have the bigs and the welcomes, and you kind of go through that pretty fast. So you don't really need to play the 3 Chandeliers when you're only playing 5 targets in the entire deck for it. Another thing is once again, this deck, we kind of went in with the mentality of we're not trying to brick. That is kind of the mentality we went with in this deck. And Chandeliers kind of made it where drawing multiple Chandeliers fucking suck, because, again, they only add to hand, and they do not special themselves. Chandelier is a level 3, so you can't even make something like a Chaos Angel with it as well. So it's not really necessarily that important to play this card at 3. And again, that's more importantly because we're not playing the field spell. We're not playing the setup. So we don't have another target in the deck for it. We're really only playing the bigs and the welcomes and stuff like that. So again, it's not that important. I actually loved it all day. When I did see it, only saw the one of it, which was what I wanted to see, because you never wanted to see multiple Chandeliers whatsoever. So this was a perfectly fine ratio. Again, Honestly, I loved it, so I don't think I would cut it whatsoever. But you can kind of see the theory there because, again, we're not playing that many targets anyways, and this is kind of the worst chandelier. Stovey is technically the better one for you. And when it comes to actually getting to your welcomes, right, you have 3 Ariana, so we have 3 Ariana, 3 Stovey, 2 chandelier, that makes it 8, and then hard drawing it, Biggs is 11. Welcomes make it to 13, and then Trap Tricks makes it a 15. So you have 15 ways to get to your, your actual trap cards that get you to somewhere, right? So that's actually not that terrible. That's not like it's actually highly likely for you to see it in an opening hand. So again, this ratio was perfectly fine. I would not increase Chandelier. I actually really loved it at 2. So again, a little bit of a weird ratio, but again, we're not playing the field spell or anything like that. So why am I not playing the field spell is probably another question you're coming up to mind, right? Why am I not playing the Labrynth field spell? Because it bricks. That card is a massive brick. It really sucks. Yes, it's really cool, especially because it makes you like welcome a interruption as well. You can get back, your guys from the graveyard as well with the field spell. But it is just a massive brick, and it also is kind of more of just a win more card, right? In my as we saw it, me and Jeff, when we were theorying the deck, right? It's more just a win more card because you don't necessarily need it. You can pretty much do your plays without the field spell, and you can be perfectly fine. So that's the reason why we weren't playing the field spell, is because 1, it necessarily didn't do that much, things that we wanted to do, and 2, it was just a massive brick. So we ended up drawing it. It fucking sucked. So we just did not want to do it. Again, we went in with the theory as we're trying not to brick with this deck whatsoever as well. Setup was kind of the same thing, especially because we cut Trap Trick down to 2. Setup was just more of a brick card than it is an actual good card. That's one of those things I can go back and forth on, is with setup exactly, because setup is a really good card, but again, we just did not want to brick on it, so we decided not to play it for this event. We're playing the 1 Clue Clock. I think this is perfectly fine. I don't think you really need to increase this to 2. Again, I never really wanted to hard draw this card anyway, so this was perfectly fine to be at 1. Would not change that whatsoever. Lady Labrynth, Silver Castle to 1, and Lovely. I think these are now more standard to play the Silver Castle at 1 now, because again, 2 is more of a way for you to break. I think the 1 is perfectly fine to play. I think this is more of a standard thing that's happening with Labrynth right now, so nothing to really say there. And obviously we're playing the 1 Shavara in the deck as well, which is, again, I love the Unchained stuff, so I personally love this by itself, but I can see why, with like the Dogmatic Punishment, it kind of conflicts with the deck, because this locks you out of your extra deck, and Shavara, you're usually searching off the Yamas, but if you're locked out of your extra deck, this card is, not accessible. But this really isn't that bad to draw whatsoever. This is not that much of a brick. If you have this in like an Ariana, you can, if they try to imperm an Ariana, you can go Shavara, target the Ariana, dodge the imperm and stuff like that, which is nice. You also have like the Black Goat that laughs and transaction rollbacks in your deck. So drawing the Shavara with these can help you get it to the graveyard, which is very important as well. Really, really good card. I would not cut, but that's just because I love the Unchained stuff. So if you don't want to play the Unchained stuff, that is perfectly fine. I understand that, but I just love Unchained a lot, so I played it in this deck, even though we were playing the Punishment, because again, this is a really good card for the main deck, and also, if you're not locked into Punishment, gives you the OTK line in the extra deck, which I'll get into later. Now on to the actual trap cards. We're main decking the Evenly Matched. So the reason why we're main decking the Evenly Matched is because in testing, we were figuring out a lot, okay, Labrynth struggles going second. That is kind of the problem. If you don't draw like the Butler or something like that, you're going to struggle going second. Or if you have like the transaction pitch the Black Goat, something like that. If you don't have a way to play going second, then you're kind of struggling for that. So we decided to main deck Evenly. Like a lot of people may have Nib in this spot instead, but I think Evenly is a lot more impactful since something like Nibiru is, because a lot of the Snake Eyes end boards right now is, playing around the Nibiru and, making the Appaloosa early before they commit to their plays and stuff like that. So the Nib, I don't necessarily like anymore. So I decided to go with Evenly Matched because there's not that many Omni Negates in the format anymore. So Evenly Matched, especially against the Snake Eyes end board, should just destroy it. And a lot of the times in testing, when I drew the Evenly Matched, 8 out of the 10 times I drew it, I won the game, because Evenly just clears their field. Then you can, set your back row, not worry, and now they have to build their board back up while you already have your traps established, so your power traps become a lot more better. So I think Evenly Matched was insane. Now the problem with it is I did not see it in the tournament. That was kind of the problem. I never drew this card. So I think the theory is there. I think the theory that we have is really good. The problem is I just never saw it. The one time I saw it, I versed a Tempai player. So, you know, it was pretty much worthless. But every, like, Snake Eyes player I versed against, if I did see an evenly matched in my hand, I think I just win that game automatically. But I just never saw that evenly matched whatsoever. But I think the theory is there. And I honestly think I really like that. I think it's really good, especially because if you end up drawing it, if you're drawing it with like a Chandelier and you're going first, at least you can just dump it to Graveyard or something like that to, you know, get you to your other trap. So an idea there, you know, I did say we're trying out the brick, and evenly going first does somewhat brick, but I'd much rather, you know, have an evenly when I do go second to, I kind of blow their doors out. So again, really I like this theory. It didn't come up in the tournament, unfortunately, but because I just never saw it. But I think the theory is there for evenly matched. Obviously, you're playing the 3 infinite impermanents. Again, it's a hand trap. It's a trap. Doesn't play in the town. It's a really good card going second. So, you know, obviously we have to play the imperms. Obviously, we're playing the 3 big welcome because it's big welcome. It's literally the best trap card in your deck. Gets you to everything you need to. You have to play 3 of this card, unfortunately. And it's a really good card, especially the graveyard effect, too. We're playing 2 welcome. We are not playing 3 of this card. And I think if you do play 3 of this card, you need to stop playing 3 of this card. This card does not need to be played at 3 whatsoever. If anything, you don't even need to play it at 1 or at 2. You can play it at 1, but we are playing the trap trick, so it kind of makes sense to play this at 2. But yeah, I think this should not be a 3 of in any deck. I think at 2 is perfectly fine. Never really needed the second one anyways in the tournament because I never really trap tricked into welcome any time in the tournament. But again, this is fine to be playing at 2. You definitely don't need to be playing 3 of this card. If anything, if you're playing 3 of this card, you have more of a chance to brick, which you're trying to prevent, right? Next thing for the power traps, we're playing the 3 Daruma. Obviously, Daruma is the best card, at least the best power trap in the format right now. Kind of have to play 3 of it. It's not a once per turn as well, which is really cool. The 2 Dogmatic of Punishment. Again, you only play 2 of this because it is a hard once per turn, so you don't want to draw multiple copies of this card. The card is very insane, but again, we are somewhat conflicting with the Shavara, but I think I'd much rather have that because I'd much rather have a conflicting scenario, right? Because if I need the punishment, at least I can use the punishment, preventing me from dying. And then if you don't, of course, I don't get the extra access, which is fine. But again, I don't consider Shavara being a brick anyway, so pretty much is fine with me. So I think this card is perfectly fine in the deck, even though you are playing the Unchained package in the extra deck, which you do want to see, you want to go into because it does help you end the games faster. But the punishment helps you by, you know, not dying. So this is, again, perfectly fine. We're only playing the 2 trap trick. A lot of people are playing this at 3. I don't think you need to play this at 3 because, again, another thing with me and Jeff we're talking about is drawing multiple trap tricks fucking suck. It really does. So you don't want to draw multiples of this card. So we just cut it down to 2, and it was a perfect ratio. You know, I saw it when I needed it, and I never, you know, saw 2 of it. So it was perfectly fine to play at 2. The Black Goat Laughs. This was the last card I put into the the Labrynth deck. And I loved it. I loved it all day. It's literally just helping you play through a field. And it going first also prevents it where you can call like a Snake Eyes Ash, and all of a sudden they lose Ash access going second, which is very, very important in that scenario, right? This card is really insane. This card is really, really good. I put this as like the last 2 trap cards in my deck. I was considering playing like 2 Terrors or something like that, or like even like an Ice Dragons, but I think I'm so glad I put the Black Goat Laughs instead because the on-field effect is insane and the graveyard effect is insane as well. And I just timed out due to the inactivity. Let me refresh Dueling Book real quick. Probably should be clicking something, but that's fine. Let me skip all this shit and let's get back into the deck. Cool. Sorry about that. So again, love the Black Goat Laughs. 2 transaction. Again, hand traps are everywhere in this format. Kind of want to be playing this card. You can also copy the power traps. Also can copy evenly match, which is so dumb. Really, really cool card. So I think you have to play this card, unfortunately, in Labrynth right now. But it is a very cool card in the deck. But you only play 2 of. You don't want to play 3 of because it is a brick if you don't draw like the Shandy pieces or away or borrow to get it into graveyard or something like that. So this is perfectly fine to be playing. At 2, we're playing the 1 Terrors. Again, this was just kind of the one of I threw into because when I put the Shavara in and made it a 41 card deck, I was like, why not? Let's just throw it in as a 42nd card. And it came up all day because there was a lot of Cash players, like Cash Snake Eyes and Pure Castria was there. And the Terrors checks the Castria stuff, which is very, very, very cool. Love this. Also, Fire King was kind of represented a lot in the tournament. So, you know, going Terrors, get rid of the Fire King Island, blowing up their entire field was really cool as well. I never really did it, but you know, the idea was there. There was Fire Kings and stuff like that there. So the Terrors was actually a lot better than I thought it was going to be because there was their decks that play into this card very hard. So this was a very good card. Would not cut it. It was a fine as just a 1-of. I don't think you need to play 2 of this card. This was just one of those cards you would set off like a lady to get, more traps into rotation. And then obviously we're playing the Rivalry Warlords because it's Rivalry Warlords. This card wins fucking games. Like, unfortunately, you do have to play this card. This card is so fucking good right now. And most likely will get banned on the next ban list because this card is just everywhere. If you can play this card, you play this card. And especially main deck this card because Snake Eyes cannot beat this fucking card. So, Rivalry is insane. Extra deck, we're playing the 1 Relinquish to get Backjack into Graveyard. I never really used it for Clue Clock to get into Graveyard because I never really need to get Clue Clock into Graveyard. So we just use it for the Backjack, send it to Graveyard. Muckraker just to get your guys back. Never really made this either, but that's just because it's one of those things you do have to play it because it will come up. But I really never made it, but you do have to play this card. Dark is the one card I did not make the entire tournament, and honestly, if you want to play it for something else, you can, because there was never really a situation where I needed the Dark, so this was fine, but you probably still have to play it because it is Dark. It's still a really good fucking link card, so you do have to play it. SP Little Knight is, of course, it's SP Little Knight. It's one of the best cards in the fucking game right now. You do have to play this card, unfortunately. And then the Unchained package, we're playing the 1 Yama, 1 Soul Rage, the Anguish, and the Abomination. Like I said in the Team Bortles deck profile, 3 monsters equal the OTK, especially if they have a monster on their field. You go 2 of the monsters into a Yama, search Shavara, go into the Anguish with the 3rd monster, Anguish, target one of their monsters, link it off, make the Abomination. Then you can go the Shavara, target one of your trap cards, pop it, special. A bomb pops a card on their field, which can help you, eliminate the board presence. And then you have the Yama effect in Graveyard to special back. So if you have like the Silver Castle, that's 8k directly right there. That ends the games faster. Again, like half the games I played in the tournament, I made the OTK line because you just wanted to end the games faster. You never want to give Snake Eyes another turn, right? But we're also playing Soul Rage because there are ways you can play this going first as well. So something like if you have a Butler and an Ariana, you can go Butler effect, search, or special the Ariana. If Ariana gets negated, you go Butler effect in Graveyard, special itself, go into a Yama, get to a Shavara. If you have any trap card, pop it, go into a Soul Rage. And then Soul Rage is just another interruption that they have to deal with. So through a hand trap, you're still ending on something, right? Also, there was a lot of times where I can maintain the Shavara since we're not playing the Escape, because Escape is just a massive brick. You do not want to play that card whatsoever. There was a lot of time I can make a Soul Rage because I had like 3 monsters and then just retain the Shavara still because just because we never needed to summon Shavara because we're not playing the Escape. So I can hold it in hand for future turns and stuff like that to dodge steam. Like if they go like Lady to put in the spell traps, I can always go Shavara, pop the Lady to save it and stuff like that. It's a really cool theory that's really cool that came up because we're not playing Escape, so we can actually just hold the Shavara in hand, and it's really good as well. And also another thing about Yama, this is like the most important card in the extra deck right now. I really love it. As you can see, we're not playing the pack bit. I know a lot of people are playing the pack bit. I just did not like it itself. I never liked discarding a card off the pack bit. But the Yama kind of is the same scenario, right? So again, this gets you into the Shavara, but in the graveyard, you can special, or if a card on your field is destroyed, you can special a Fiend. But a lot of people forget that it has an optional, then you can destroy 1 card you control. A lot of people forget about that second effect of Yama, that second effect of Yama has an optional destroy a card. So if you have the Lady in the spell trap zone, let's say they Flanbird it or something like that, you can go Yama, and they destroy a card, you can go Yama effect, special summon one of your Fiends, and then pop the Lady from the spell trap zone to get this lovely back into the rotation. That's really why Yama is one of the most important cards in this extra deck. I will say that for a fact that this card was one of the most important cards in this extra deck. Loved it all day, and I did 3 times, I think it was 3 times, I used the Yama effect, popped the Lady out of my spell trap zone just so I can get it back into rotation. It is such a dumb card that Yama is. Really, really good. Again, I like this over the pack bit a lot, and it gives you the OTK line in the extra deck as well. We're playing the Chaos Angel because it's Chaos Angel. You can make it in this deck. It's a banish card. It's a really cool card. Sky Crisis, again, I don't like this in every deck. I don't think this is really that good. I understand why people are playing it, but I don't think it's really that good. But I think in Labrynth, you do have to play this card. I think this is the one deck. This is a mandatory card that you do have to play, unfortunately, because it's Sky Crisis. It helps you kind of break the field while keeping your traps ready. And then obviously the punishment targets, we're playing the Natis, we're playing the Tribe Gauge Link 5, Garua, the Chimeras as well. The Chimeras really never came up today, but I wouldn't cut them either because there are situations where these do come up, especially this Chimera, because there are some people that are not playing there, that are just playing this one to get their lady back from the banish. But I think there's an argument to play this card as well, to send it and have you have Ariana in graveyard. You can special back the Ariana on your opponent's turn, get a search, and then you can at least somewhat still play when they pass it back to you, right? So I really like the ideas of these Chimeras in the deck right now as well. So that's the extra deck. Side deck, we're playing 3 Phantasme. Again, the idea is there. This card is really, really good, but I don't know. I never drew it, so I can't tell you how good this card is because I never fucking drew it. So I played 3 of it too, but I just never drew this card when I sided it in. But the idea is there. The idea is there. Draw 2, put 1 back. If you can get into like a Butler or something like that, it can help you play during your opponent's turn. I just never saw it, so that's unfortunate. We're playing 2 Lord. This was kind of a weird one because Lord is a very good card by protecting because Lightning Storm and Feather Duster are in this format. But the reason why I don't like Lord is because Cosmic is also in this format, and this does not protect against the Cosmic Cyclone, which really sucks. And I think I saw Cosmic a lot more than I saw the Lightning Storms and Feather Dusters, right? So this card is really good. I don't think you cut it because it is still a decent card, especially with Lightning Storm and Feather Duster in the format. But I didn't necessarily want to play 3 of it because again, Cosmic is also in the format, so it doesn't protect against that. We're playing the 2 Lava Golem because it's Lava Golem. So if you verse some bullshit, combo wombo deck, you can just go, okay, here's a Golem, and then set your traps pass. I don't really think Golem is that good going into the fire, the Snake Eyes end board, because Snake Eyes always just get the recursion anyways, and they usually end on like 3 monsters, so it's really hard to choose on which one you want to get rid of. But against like the Voiceless Voice matchup, which this is more in for the Voiceless Voice matchup, this is where it becomes super insane. But I never versed Voiceless Voice. There actually wasn't that many Voiceless Voice at Lubbock for some reason. At least I didn't see it. So this really never came in for me because I just versed a shit ton of Snake Eyes instead. Solemn Judgment is insane. Love this card. Glad I put it in last second. This was literally a last second thing. We got to the fucking venue 30 minutes before the tournament started, or an hour before the tournament started, and I put this in last second. This was a last second thing, and I'm glad I put it in because Judgment is insane. Skill Drain, obviously one of the better floodgates as well. I don't like this in the main deck. I think you do side deck this card, but they're going first against like the Snake Eyes. The Skill Drain just checks it, right? You can always just side out of the evenly matches going first and put in the skill drains instead. So I like this a lot, and especially just the 2 of. I don't think you really need to play 3, especially if you're playing the Imperms in the main deck too. 2 D-Berry, again, this was for Tempai and Voiceless. I only versed 1 Tempai, and I didn't even get to this in the Tempai matchup, and I still ended up winning the match. So this is just the auto win button against the Voiceless and Tempai, so I think you do have to play it. The 1 Eradicator for any spell heavy deck, something like, Runic Stun comes to mind, so that's why this is in here. And then DDG, again, when you're going first against the Snake Eyes end board, or going first against Snake Eyes, this is what you want to set off something like the Silver Castle, because the DDG does just check their turn a lot. So yeah, this was a little bit more in-depth. I went a lot longer. Again, I can already see this is at 23 minutes. I went in a lot longer. Oh my god, what did I just click? I am so sorry. I'm clicking things I should not be clicking. Yeah, but I went in a little bit more in-depth. I do apologize for that if you don't like that. But again, this is Dueling Book. You can see the deck right there in the first 10 seconds if you want to copy it. But again, a lot of this theory, I know there's a lot of real ratios in this deck, but the theory is there. And I love the theory. And to be fair, I did not brick once in Lubbock. I did not brick whatsoever at all. I love the ratios a lot. The only thing I wish I saw more was evenly matched because I never fucking saw this card, but the theory is there, and I think the theory is really good. Sorry about that little cut there. The landscapers came by, so I kind of had to let them pass by because they were kind of being loud. But the last thing I want to do for this video is go over the matchups I did, or the decks I versed in Lubbock. That's kind of my last thing. I'll kind of skim through it a lot because, again, this has kind of already been a long video. So the first matchup I versed was Salamangreat, which was very interesting to see. Salamangreat's been like this kind of rogue contender, and the guy that actually plays it actually has a couple tops with it already this year. So, I didn't know that going into it, but we figured it out afterwards. I versed him. I 2-1'd him. Game 1, I just honestly set up like the most impossible board. Like, he wasted his entire hand, and I still had like 3 interruptions. It was insane. Game 2, he went first. I think he just drew the the Raging Phoenix, the guy that can pop cards, the trap card. That card sucks. I fucking hate it. That card sucks. But he just popped all my trap cards. Kind of sucks. And then game 3, we kind of went into this grind match. And if once Lab gets into a grind match, it's favored. And that's what happens. I just kept grinding it out, and I honestly kept drawing insane. I kept drawing into trap cards that helped me just prevent him from playing, and then I ended up winning that game. Round 2, I versed Runic Stun, and I 2-0'd it, because Labrynth kind of has a good matchup against Runic Stun, especially once it comes to the side, because now you can set on like the Lords and the Eradicators and stuff like that. But game 1, he just kind of drew all the floodgates, which only one of them matters, which is Tikaboo, and he drew that one last, and I just ended up returning it back to hand and then OTK'd him, which was cool. Game 2, it was kind of just the same situation, kind of just drew his floodgates and not his Runic spell trap cards. So I ended up winning that game as well, but I was more prepared. I had the Lord and the Eradicator in the deck as well to kind of deal with shit as well. And then round 3, I versed Fire King Snake Eyes, which was weird. I was not expecting Fire King Snake Eyes to be in this tournament, but there's actually were a couple players playing Fire King Snake Eyes, so that was kind of weird. Game 1, he just drew like the perfect 6 cards to break my field. It was unfortunate. Like his first 5 cards kind of broke everything, and I put him on, okay, your last card has to be original or I win this game, and his last card was fucking original. I'm like, God damn it, bro. What the fuck? Okay, there's nothing I can do about that. It happens. It happens where they just draw the perfect 6 cards out of your field. Game 2, I drew Skill Drain, and Skill Drain is really fucking good, especially if they don't draw Kieran. And then game 3, I drew the Stones going second. I drew like Imperm, Butler, Daruma, Stovey. I don't know what the other card was. To be fair, I don't know. I think it was Welcome. I think it was Imperm, Butler, Daruma, Stovey, Welcome. That was my hand. Fucking insane. It was so fucking good how good that hand was. It was insane. No. It wasn't Welcome. It was some other card, because I ended up setting Welcome off the Stovey. But it was insane because, you know, he does an entire combo. I'm like, before he gets to, he made an Apo and he got to a point where he hasn't made Promethean yet. I went, okay, Butler, he attempts to Apo, I Imperm, and I set Daruma, set everything. Then I draw a Rivalry for turn. I'm like, oh my God, this shit is just insane. So, you know, drew the perfect cards, and then my top deck was just even better. It was so good. That was insane. Round 4, I versed Pure Castria, but he was playing the Dia Bellstar stuff, so game 1 was weird because he kind of let me go full combo. He drolled me, which doesn't fucking matter against Labrynth. I don't know why he was playing Droll. I don't think Droll's even that good in this format to begin with, but he drolled me, and I got to the lovely, like, rip a card in his hand. I rip a Wanted, so I'm like, okay, this guy's on Snake Eyes. So I went, okay, I had a Black Goat. I call Snake Eyes Ash. Turns out, he's not on fucking Snake Eyes. He's on fucking Castria. But I still ended up winning the game 1. Game 2, I think my hand wasn't the greatest in the world, and he had, like, Cosmics and stuff like that to kind of play as well. So, unfortunately, I lose the game 2. And then game 3, it was a situation. I drew the Black Goat, I set it, I called Unicorn, and Unicorn's like the best card for their deck, so he kind of had to play it weird with like the Fenrir and stuff like that, but I had Daruma as well, so it ended up just taking up that game, and then he passed to me, and I did the Unchained OTK after that, which was fucking insane. Round 4, I versed a Snake Eyes player, and I 2-0'd it. I 2-0'd a Snake Eyes player. That was very cool. Both games were a grind match. Game 2 went into time, but both games were a grind match. But I ended up, again, if Labrynth goes into a grind match, you are more favored to win that game. So, very, very cool. Round 5, I versed Sako. He's on Snake Eyes. Game 1, I don't draw the great. I think I drew like 2 bigs, a Backjack, Butler, and a Black Goat. So it's like I drew a Butler, but like the traps don't necessarily do that much, unfortunately. So that was kind of not that great. Game 2, I drew Transaction plus Daruma, and I just did that. And then also had like the Soul Rage on top of everything for another interruption. So that was a really cool thing as well. And I think I ended up big, and he was like, okay, we'll just go to next game or something like that. And then game 3, his end board isn't the greatest in the world. He still got to the Flamberg IP Apo play, but like he didn't have anything else. He didn't really go into anything after that. I went Stovey pitch in Black Goat, and I Black Goat called IP. The reason why I did this is because I did not want him to make SP because I drew Rivalry of Warlords. So I did that, set Rivalry pass, draw phase, activate the Rivalry of Warlords with a big set, and he's like, okay, I'll get rid of the Apo, and the IP kept the Flamberg, and then shows me why he plays it so weird is because he hard drew the fucking Feather Duster. So that's unfortunate, and I didn't really have any like the transactions or anything to help me play through it, so he just OTKs me after that. So that's my first loss. Round 6, I versus another Snake Eyes player. We had like a 20-minute game 1. It was kind of just a grind match in game 1. Again, once Labrynth goes into a grind match, you just win in the grind match. Round 6? Round 6, no, that's not correct. No. Sako was round 6. This is round 7 because we had 8 rounds in Lubbock. Round 7, I versus another Snake Eyes player. Again, 20-minute grind match game 1, but I end up winning game 1. Game 2, he does his combo. I drew the evenly for once. I'm like, oh my god, I drew the evenly match and stuff like that. Go to battle, activate evenly. He goes judgment. I'm like, damn. And this was like the one and only game I ended up drawing the lovely lady, which fucking sucked. But I had a punishment, so I'm like, I have a punishment. That's something at least. He goes to battle with like the Z Lances and stuff like that. Okay, punishment target, and this is where I figured out, oh, the Z Lances can pop any card on the field. So he just pops the card that I ended up targeting off punishment. I'm like, damn. So I lost. Game 3, we ended up going to time, and then there was no way we can. He had like a Mourner, but my hand was like 4 traps plus Lord in hand. So I'm like, damn, that's cool. I wasn't going to summon a monster anyways, unless it was like a 3k body, right? So we just ended up going to time, and so that ended up being a tie. And then the last round, I versed Tempai, and I was so excited because he won the die roll. He's like, okay, you can go first. I'm like, oh my god, Labrynth has such a good matchup against Tempai. I win game 1 with like a Daruma punishment, which was fucking insane. He also didn't draw that great. Game 2, I mean, he drew Ash Lightning Storm, and he made me go first, and I had really no way to play around those cards. So that happened. And then game 3, I took a risk and made him go first just because I'm like, I don't really want to go first because I know Lightning Storm and shit like that. It's in his deck. So I don't want to deal with that. So I was like, you can go first. It ended up paying off because he made a Seals. I forced out the Seals with like, I think a lady. And then I'm like, cool, Seals is now gone. I still have bodies on the field. I ended up having like a shit ton of bodies because I drew like a Butler and stuff like that with like a Clue Clock. So I make the Unchained plays. I don't kill him, but I got rid of his entire field. And then he has no cards in hand after that point because he dropleted to try to negate the Yama. That's why I couldn't OTK him, because I couldn't get to the Shivara because he dropleted and negated the Yama. But I still have 1 extra body to go into the Anguish and stuff like that. But since I had a big and he had no cards in hand, I went, okay, now it's time to big, in draw, summon Lovely, get rid of that card in hand. And I did that for 3 turns because I could not kill him because I could not draw into shit. But that was pretty much the end of that game. The last 3 turns, I'm like, cool, your card you just drew, get that card out of hand, basically is what happened. So that was my lineup. That was like the rounds I versed. So I versed 1 Salamangreat, 1 Castria, 1 Runic Stun, 1 Tempai, and then 4 Snake Eyes is what I versed. So half my matches ended up being against the Snake Eyes matchup itself. I went X1-1 and then got 8th place with it. I'm super glad I brought this up. Sorry about me rambling. I know this is a little bit of a longer video, but I did say that at the beginning this was going to be longer because it was more in-depth. So I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, leave a like and subscribe for more content on the channel, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.